This really stands. Where are we?
We are right in the thick of it, Andrew. Good morning, guys. So 2 new warning shots fired to those 2 trading partners this weekend. The president vowing to impose 30% tariffs on all of their exports to the U.S. as soon as August 1st. Now, we did hear Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum and the head of the European Commission, that's Ursula von der Leyen, both vowed to continue negotiations with the U.S. in the hopes of reaching a deal by early August. But von der Leyen also warned that the EU will be ready to retaliate with their own tariffs by early next month if the president moves forward with this threat. Now, this follows the president's threats against Canada on Friday, and then given the duties he's already imposed against China this term, take a look here. All 4 of the U.S.'s largest trading partners, together they sell about 60% of everything the U.S. buys from abroad. They are or will be facing tariffs of at least 30% by early next month if all of this holds. The question, though, does remain whether these will actually be imposed in a few weeks or whether they're a negotiating tactic. Here's what Kevin Hassett said about that yesterday.
These tariffs are real if the president doesn't get a deal that he thinks is good enough. But, you know, conversations are ongoing, and we'll see where the dust settles.
The president later in the day addressed the same idea, and he said when it comes to these deals, guys, the quote was, "Maybe I'll change them, maybe I won't." Guys.
Well, but that's been sort of the story the whole time. The question that I have is how much leverage does the president have at this point, and does the other side or these other sides call the bluff if you think it's a bluff?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, very clearly, the first response by all of these countries, most of them that we've seen now over the past week or two, has been to say, well, we're going to keep negotiating, because by doing this in tandem with extending the deadline, maybe he's raising the stakes slightly for some countries from where they were, but it wasn't moving too much except to emphasize he's saying now, I really do mean this, and we have to get it done by August 1st. So they feel the deadline pressure. They are there negotiating, but repeatedly now from major trading partners, we've heard that their national interest still comes first. They'll retaliate if they have to, even though they recognize the White House wants to move higher if they do that. So they know what's on the table now. It's all been laid out there, but they're still holding firm and saying that doesn't mean we're just going to give you everything that you want at this point. I'll also say what he is doing, though, that's very serious, even though these country-specific tariffs are kind of on hold, we do know the sector-specific ones are moving forward. That makes things a little bit more grounded in reality here, or starting to have an impact. We heard about copper and potentially about pharma last week. We know there are 5 other of those investigations ongoing, so you have to kind of look at all of it at the same time.
Hey, Megan, there's these reports this morning that the EU's von der Leyen may be reaching out to Canada, to Japan. I don't know what exactly that would mean, if they're talking about retaliating together or if they're just looking for other strategies, potentially other markets for some of their goods. What's the potential there?
Yeah, that's a great point, actually, that's the other impact here. Just the uncertainty alone, whether or not these tariffs ever take effect, is we're now hearing from a number of trading partners about strengthening their relationships around the world. That was Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney's first response when they got threatened on Friday. We also heard it from von der Leyen over the weekend. She was celebrating a new trade deal with Indonesia. They're mostly looking at, as far as I know, at strengthening their relationships with each other, not as sort of a unified response by all of them. They can all, impact U.S. markets individually, so they don't have to ban collectively for that. But they are trying to boost their own trading relationships so that when if the U.S. stops buying as much from any of them, they're already looking elsewhere to buy and sell goods. Brazil and China is one example we were talking about last week with the steep Brazil tariffs. Canada and the EU and Indonesia, all of these other countries getting closer together, even just because of the uncertainty with the U.S. They feel like they can't plan in advance. They don't know what things are going to look like a month or a year from now.